It's a cooking book.
Cooking book. Hey, do you know what you do with cookbooks?
What do we look at?
Come here. Come here. Food.
Food. What else do we look at in cookbooks? We can look at a picture here of one. You don't know? No. What's this part?
Words.
Words. What are the words in our cookbook called? A recipe. Cookbooks have recipes in them. And who uses recipes, Preston?
People.
People. What kind of person? Paige, do you know who uses a recipe? Who might use a recipe?
I use them sometimes.
Mom uses them.
Make dinner, huh?
Oh, and what's it called when you use a recipe? What kind of person is that called?
In restaurant, who's the one that...
A baker. A baker. A
Chef.
chef.
Yeah.
A chef or a cook. And what does a chef and cook do? Cook. They make a meal.
I make like that.
They make that. Chefs make that. And after a chef makes a meal, then what happens?
Someone serve it.
Some server serves it, yeah. And then what happens?
I don't know.
Paige, you know what happens after you cook a meal?
After we cook it, do we throw it away?
Yeah, do you throw it away?
Yeah.
You do?
What do you do first?
That's interesting. Does
Usually you're
somebody-
hungry.
Does somebody want to do something with the food that they cooked? What do you do after Mom makes cookies, Preston? You don't know? Paige, what do you do after your mom makes dinner?
We all sit down at the table and we put the food on our plates, and then what do we do?
You eat it. Let's think about it. Somebody writes a recipe, and then a chef cooks the recipe, and then someone eats the food. Do you eat food? No. Paige, do you eat food? No.
Yeah.
I eat food. Well, buildings are just like cookbooks. You have someone who plans the building, and then someone who builds the building, and then someone who uses the building. And the person who uses the building is often called, maybe we should write this down.
Okay.
A passenger.
A passenger? Yeah, type of passenger. We're going to call it the owner. The person who, or user. Owner or user. What's the person who builds the building called?
Worker.
A worker.
I'm a worker architect. I'm a worker architect.
Oh, is there another word for someone who builds a building?
Construction worker.
A construction worker. A builder. And so a builder is like a person who cooks food. A builder is like
Do you know Owen?
a builder is like a chef. And who writes the recipe?
Who writes the building recipe?
Who writes the building recipe?
Architect.
Architects. So architects are like the person who wrote
Me? I'm
a
a
recipe. These are called Preston. This is like a cookbook for a building. This is a recipe for a building.
Okay.
So an architect writes the recipe of the building. Only for architects they're called drawings. So this whole set of paper is what's called a building recipe.
Food and recipe, yay. Okay.
Or another word for that is called a
Fine.
drawing or a plan. So architects
Yes.
tell the builders how to build a building.
How to build a building.
Just like people who write recipes tell cooks
How taught.
how
What
to
meal to taught.
how to cook the food.
How to cook the food and what meal to taught.
So this is what architects do.
Yeah, so this is what architects do.
They draw plans for buildings.
They draw plans for building. I didn't know.
So we know what architects do.
Okay.
And we know they write recipes for builders. And we know they use drawings like these to write recipes for builders.
Okay, yup. Yes.
But how do they decide?
But how do they decide to build a building?
How do they decide how to build the building?
Yeah, how do they decide how to build a building? I don't know.
You don't know? Paige, do you know? No? I don't know either. What do you do when you don't know how to do something?
I do solutions.
You do solutions? What do you do to come up with solutions?
Feet.
You think? Okay. Do you think architects think about building?
Yeah.
Do you think architects think about building?
Yeah.
I do. I do too. What else could we do? What else do you do when you don't know something? So let's remember that. Architects think about buildings. What else can we do when we don't know something?
What do you do, Paige, if you don't know how to do something?
We go to the library and get what do we get at the library?
You get
Oh, you can get books.
Books.
If I don't know how to do something, I look in a book. This is a book. Paige, do you want to look at this book?
So this is a book.
You want to look at that house over there? If I say anything, it ruins it.
Here, let's pick one. You go pick a book.
This is a book about houses.
You want the house.
You want the house? Maybe in a minute. Let's look at this picture first.
Ooh, look at all those different types of houses.
Oh,
Skyscrapers.
Different shapes,
Wow, this is
Different.
the inside of one.
different materials.
This is a door.
Is that giving you different ideas for how buildings, different types of buildings can look, Preston?
Summer towel.
Some are tall.
I don't know.
yeah, we're gonna do that in a minute, okay?
What do you see? Different types of materials.
Yes.
Look at the shape of that building
Looks
on the
like an
front.
egg.
Whoa, look at that.
Look at that page.
Oh,
That's a building. It's the shape of an egg. I didn't know that.
Did you
How
know?
do you get inside?
Did you know houses can look like eggs?
It.
You didn't.
How
Okay.
did,
So
so,
we're thinking about building,
we're thinking about buildings, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
and so we looked in some books to get different ideas for
So
buildings.
we looked at some books to get different ideas. So,
Great.
And what do you do
and what
Shh,
you do
listen.
when you're
I
starting
tell
to have ideas and you need to remember them?
when you start to have ideas and you need to remember them.
Okay, so
What do
that's
you
a
do?
question. What do you
I'm
do?
asking you a question.
What do you do if you have ideas in your head and you need to remember them? What can you do?
Close that.
Oh, I did some of this over here with our
Close that.
our board over here.
Thanks, Preston.
What did I do so I'd remember with the words that Preston and Paige said? What did I do?
I was doing what we don't
You over
teach.
here. What did Jenny do on that paper? Make a list.
Oh, I made a
Make
list.
a list.
I was doing what we don't teaching.
Yeah.
Oh, Daddy's showing you. Paul's showing you. What's in there?
Ooh, what are these?
That one. This is going to be mine.
It is? Okay.
Should we have to look at this picture?
So when architects are starting to think about a building, they can look at books to get ideas,
What's this?
and then they can start to,
What's this?
they can write in some
What's
paper.
this under the roof? The A.
That's a roof. That's a roof. Okay, so we're not getting very far. Let's try another idea. To help
How
out.
do you get to end that, Boudin?
That's a good question. Look at what else Daddy did.
So architects can think about buildings in a couple ways. They can make drawings of buildings in a sketchbook. I know someone who has a sketchbook. Or they can make models of a building.
Oh, Preston, look at the models.
Paige, what does
Paige,
this
look
look
at the
like?
model.
Can I hold it?
Or here's a little model made out of wood. So architects can use models to think about buildings. So these are models that we can use to think about buildings.
Do you think we should make a model during Friends School of a building?
Look at all those tabs. Tab.
Yeah. Look at this model of a building, Preston. And Paige.
That's what I measured.
Paige, this is a house. This is a model of a house.
I wonder where the door would be. How do you think you get in that house, Paige? How do you think you get in, Preston?
No. That's the door. Door. Ouch.
What's the door?
This.
That.
That's the door. This is another model of a house.
Oh, that one looks more
And
like
you
a
can
house than I'm used
Look
to.
inside and see the rooms.
Ooh. Look at that.
So when
I don't know what those open. I thought they were blanket.
yeah, so when architects are thinking about buildings, they can make drawings of buildings called sketches. Sketches.
Models.
Or they can make models of buildings.
Yes.
After you've thought about a building, and you've looked at books to learn about buildings, and you've drawn sketches and made models, what do we need to do so a builder can build it?
Yeah.
What does a cook need so he cook can make a dinner? What do cooks use to make dinner?
Recipes.
Recipes. We need to make an architecture recipe.
Yes.
We need
No.
to make
Yes.
the architect's recipe, the instructions for the builder.
And that's this really big paper.
Those are these
Whoa.
drawings. And to do that, architects have special tools, and then we're going to be done.
Oh, let's go look at the tools. You want to come see the tools, Paige?
Ready. Special tools. Don't sit any of them.
Well, I got to tell you what they are.
Are we don't have any?
No. So, now architects use computers a lot. Do you know what a computer is?
I do.
Do you know what a computer is, Paige? You use computer at home?
I bet,
But before computers, you had to draw by hand. So architects have special pencils. This is a special architect pencil that architects would use to draw. And they have things called triangles. We need a piece of paper.
Okay.
Why is it called a triangle, Preston?
Where's mine?
Right here. Why is it called a triangle?
Because it's no shape of the triangle.
And you can use triangles to draw straight lines. See, look at this. And then they use what's called a T-square.
Wait, Preston, let's
to
let
draw
Daddy
straight
finish.
lines.
Where's mine?
Oh.
And you can set your T-square and your triangle
Where's
on top
purple?
of each other.
Watch.
See how I'm using the T-square and triangle system? Paige, do you want to try?
I'm trying using together. Want a pencil?
And then here's a special architect pencil. And then
Straight line using the triangle and the T-square.
they use a special architect measuring device. This is a very special architect measuring device.
Preston, look at what Daddy's holding.
It's called a
Paige.
scale. And this is really important, Preston, because I have a tricky question. Paige and Preston, I have a tricky question.
Okay.
If we drew a drawing of this house, we drew this house on a piece of paper, do we need a really big piece of paper to draw this whole house on it? Could we draw this whole house on a piece of paper? Is this house bigger than this piece of paper? Yeah.
The house is much
How big of
bigger.
a piece of paper would we have to draw this house on top of it? Small or big? Big.
Big. big.
So a scale lets us draw houses that will fit on pieces of paper. And then my favorite tool of all, Paige, this is my favorite tool of all. It's called the Draftsman brush, which helps you clean your drawing because when you erase,
Look how messy
it's
that
messy,
is.
and then you can use this. Here, Paige is going to use it. You can clean it off.
That'll move it.
Oh, Paige gonna go, then your
Brush it
turn.
off. Okay.
You brush it off. Brush off all the eraser crumbs.
Can you do that? There you go.
Oh, you practicing straight lines? Wow, look how those help you make straight lines.
What's this?
Can you give him the brush?
That helps you make straight lines too.
Okay, I think we